Hey, what's up? This is the Nowhere to Go But Up podcast, and I'm your host, Sean Dustin. Today, we're doing something a little bit different, considering that we're having all these protests across the country right now for this last individual that was needlessly and warrantlessly murdered by law enforcement. We have two guys here today with me, Joe Martinez and Coach James. Both of them are familiar with being on the other side of the wall. We're all formerly incarcerated individuals, and we're all three of us are doing our part in the communities that we live in, and with our podcast, I know me and Jose, we reach out to people that are in prison and have gotten out as well to have on our show. And then Coach James, you work with GOGI, and you both can explain what you're doing before we get involved in this discussion. But yeah, I want you, Jose, go ahead and or Joe or Jose. It says
Joe.
Jose.
Joe's good.
All right, Joe, go ahead and explain what you do, and then Coach James will go to you when he's done.
Well, I run it's a small podcast, and what I do is I reach out to prisoners. At first, it was just going to be just to get stories for a podcast, and then doing research and talking to more people, I started realizing that the injustices aren't just on the movies, and it's just not something you hear in passing. It's like almost everybody that I talk to. So I find myself digging deeper, and now I have a podcast that has a cause behind it, and that's to give people their voice back, not just let people think what they want to think because of what they've seen on TV about their story or what a courtroom may have heard, but it gives them as an individual to voice who they are or who they were before they got locked up. That's what I do.
And that's important. That's very important, because a lot of times, and I've experienced this myself, being in lockup and fighting my own case and talking to other people that were down and fighting theirs. It depends on the situation, but I mean, it's the cards are stacked against you once you put yourself in harm's way that way. The cards are immediately stacked against you, and it's difficult to get out of that situation once you get yourself into it. Coach James, what are you doing out there in the community?
Hey, brother, how you doing? Well, first of all, with all the stuff that's going on right now with the pandemic and everything, the first and foremost thing that I'm trying to do is stay safe with me and my family and keep them out of harm's way. And second of all, I'm hosting my group on Facebook, which is GOGI's Voice in the Neighborhood. And, we're all getting together and we're talking, we're hashing out issues and figuring out what's really going on, because everybody has a point of view, and everybody, with all this, with a lot of stuff that's going on right now, man, people aren't feeling secure and people aren't feeling safe. So we're just trying to give them a safe place to be able to come and vent and talk and, get a good sense of mind and a positive attitude before they leave. So they'll leave with a better frame of mind, than they came with. But other than that, GOGI, trying to put that in a nutshell. GOGI was something that found me when I was in prison. I have 21 years of incarceration. In 2008, I discovered a book that was a simply written book, and it was authored by Coach Marley Taylor, and it was basically a book called, Getting Out by Going In, how to find out what it is about yourself and the problems that you have that are getting in the way of you becoming successful. So GOGI stands for getting out by going in, getting out of your own way by going inside of yourself and finding out what the problem is. So I don't know, for some reason, out of all the things that I had read and all the things that had came across my path, it was that one simple concept that caught my attention, and it lit a fire up under me. And for the rest of the time that I was incarcerated, which I believe I found GOGI in 2008. I paroled in 2015. So I've actually been out for 5 years now. And for the last 5 years, I've dedicated myself to trying to implement a program that can help at-risk youth, people with mental health, because I struggle with mental health issues as well. I was once an at-risk youth, and prison reform, because when I was in prison, there was a lot of things going on that I felt like needed to be reformed. So these are all issues that are close to my heart, and I feel that they need a voice, just like my brother Jose was saying. And I was listening to you, Jose, man. I really, and I dig you, bro. You know what I mean? Because this is our first time actually getting a chance to talk and see each other. But we were talking, we were typing like we were going crazy on that messenger. You know what I mean? And we were feeling each other. So now I know that once I see you and everything, I put a face to the words. This makes everything a lot better. But voice, the emphasis on voice is something that I really hold true to my heart, because I want to give a voice to those that actually need to be heard and can't speak for themselves.
That's right.
I just put it all in a nutshell and leave it at that. And let's carry on with the group. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in that same situation, and that's part of the reason why I'm like, you know what, let's just get this rolling now, because you two were wasting good conversation on text when we could be capturing that on a Zoom, right?
I agree. This was a good idea.
All right, so one of the main things that I want to talk about, and we've all been in trouble with the law, right? I'm no stranger to it. Joe, you're no stranger to it. Coach James, you're no stranger yourself.
I was, but I'm not.
Yeah, and a lot of what's happening right now is being framed as a racial thing, and I mean, there is some racial things that are going on, I believe, but I mean, this is more of a cop thing than it is a race thing.
There's a deeper root of evil in this.
Yeah. It I know that the black community as well as all of the brown skinned communities, there's systematic racism that's going that happens within communities. There's no what's the word I'm looking for? There's no mistaking or no accident that all of the poor neighborhoods, the black neighborhoods, the minority neighborhoods are all in places that are where they have other stuff that's not good for them, whether it's power lines, these communities are where they're having chemical plants,
liquor stores on every corner, pawn shops on every corner, so you can go and buy up all the liquor that you can think of, and then go and buy a gun and kill up everybody that you can think of. I mean, this is the neighborhood, man, and it's real.
Yeah, I mean, and you even talk about COVID, and how it's it's been really hard on the black community because they have a lot of pre-existing conditions, and the reason why they have all these pre-existing conditions is they've been conditioned and they're poor, and what options of food are there for people that don't have a lot of money? The center aisle in a grocery store, and McDonald's, and value meals, and just poor eating habits, right?
I'm an inmate. I'm an ex-inmate. If I got $5 in my pocket and I'm hungry, what am I gonna go buy? Well, I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna go buy. I'm gonna go buy me some top ramen. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go get me a can of beans, maybe some. If I have enough left over, maybe some shrimp, or something like that to go along with it. And how healthy is that? That it's filled with salt, sodium, and all these bad things that that nobody else wants to eat except for a person that doesn't have any money. So of course,
and even in prison, when you do have money, you're still eating that stuff, because that's what that's
what's offered on the commissary.
That's what's offered on the commissary. But I'm talking more along the lines of people that have a choice, that can if they want to, but they can't, right? They can't. Right. They got to stretch that money out, and some families are only eating maybe once a day. if that, and so it's there's no mistaking that. I mean, a lot of this stuff is done intentionally. That there things are put in the lower class, lower income neighborhoods on purpose. I live in an area where Chevron, the oil refinery, is right next to one of the worst neighborhoods. What is it, North Richmond? Right next to the hood. And that happens all the time. And so, when they say, I think that systematic racism is a real thing, but I don't think that this deal right here is about racism. I think it's about totalitarianism, and it's a cop thing. It's not a race thing. These cops, I've had my ass whooped by a cop, right? It was in Vegas, and it's like they're programmed to respond, and doesn't matter what it is. Like, I remember I was so drunk that when they pulled me out of the car, like, I was literally like this, driving with my chin on my shoulder, right? I could barely stay awake, and luckily I didn't kill anybody or crash. But when they pulled me out, I couldn't keep my head straight, right? I couldn't stay standing up. And what ended up happening is the cop that was holding me said that I tried to headbutt him. And then which wasn't the truth. I was out, man. I wasn't even conscious, but they proceeded to whoop this shit out of me. When I got to the when they knocked me out. When I finally came to, like, I felt like I had been violated, right? Like, I knew something was wrong. Then I tried to fight all of them, and then that was a bad situation in itself. And the next time I woke up, I was in an emergency room. But that's just, I mean, that was unnecessary. When I woke up the next day, I sort of swore I got hit by a Mack truck. Like, damn, did I total my vehicle and all that? No, man, no, I got totaled by the highway patrol.
You got beat up.
Yeah, and so that is a real thing. All right, and it has gone too far. Do you agree that it's gone too far?
I don't agree that it's gone too far. I agree. I think that it went too far years ago, and now it's at the peak of gone too far. Like, there's no going anymore after this. It's like, what do you do to get justice after someone puts their knee on your neck and kills you in front of everybody? And there's nothing you can do about it except die.
Yeah.
Here's my thought on that kind of abuse of power. My thought is that if you do this, if you can be charged for capital murder, my thought is, if you are a law enforcement, a peace officer, and you kill somebody in the line of duty, or even if you're not at work, but if you do it and you flash your badge to try to take order, and somebody dies because of you at your hands, it's my belief that individual should also face a capital murder charge. And it might sound ridiculous, but I'm an unfiltered person, and sometimes I might not give the most thought into something that I say, but it's very basic. If you're in that position and you have all the training that you have had, and this guy, the cop from Minnesota, had years on the police force, and he also had a ridiculous record of hurting people, and I think they said even killing other people.
He had a couple of murders under his belt.
So something like that, and then this guy, and then he's gonna get a third degree felon, like a murder rap.
What is a third degree murder rap?
I have no idea.
It's almost,
a murder is a murder.
Yeah, it's almost like an involuntary manslaughter. It's like one above, I think, an involuntary manslaughter.
Is it like you were driving down the street and you ran somebody over, you didn't really mean to, but you're gonna have to do some time for it anyway?
No, that's involuntary. This is a little bit more. A third degree is a little bit more serious, but I mean,
Not too much.
Not too much serious.
Maybe 3 or 4 more years more serious.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that like he got called. They called the liquor store called in because he used a fake $20 bill, but even the store clerk says, "Hey man, he may not even have known that it was counterfeit, because I mean that does happen. You get somebody passes you a bill and you may not know that you're spending a counterfeit bill, and
every store that you go to doesn't have the ability to detect whether a bill is counterfeit or not.
Yeah.
So I can pass a bill to a liquor store, you can come in right behind me and they can give you the same bill that they gave me.
Yep. And so, and the liquor store guy was like, "Hey man, that was way uncalled for," and it's just
murder, yeah.
Yeah. And this is just, I mean, you had in my area, what was it? The Oscar Grant got killed by the BART police, on the BART train. You had there was another there's been quite a few, and then there's a lot of stuff that we don't even hear about that never even makes it to the news.
Right.
And that you hear like on an off, if you're listening to alternative media, you'll catch some other stuff that doesn't get, broadcast by mainstream. And there's other things out there that are happening, man. And this is something that's got to stop. It has to stop. And I don't know, I honestly don't know how to go about doing it. I don't quite agree with the way that it's going down right now, but I mean, what other choice do they got? We tried to do things peacefully for years, and nothing ever happens. Nobody ever, nothing ever changes. It just, another guy gets off. Some may have to do some time, but it's only a year compared to like if that individual, like if the dude that they would have killed them, it would have been like a 20-30 year to life sentence versus 1 to 2 year slap on the wrist. And the dude gets to go into solitary, right? Because they're not going to put him on the main line.
Well, the unjust thing is, it's so funny that this is happening, and you kind of touched on it, and it reminded me of a kid that I got in touch with in the Texas Department of Correction, and he is serving a 50-year sentence. He's never been in trouble before. He's serving a 50-year sentence because he got into a fight with an older man, an ex-Marine, and a police officer that approached him off duty and wanted to start beef with this kid while he was walking home from school. And the kid ended up taking him down. Now, when you're in a fight, there's no rules in the fight. You take somebody down the best way you can. It just so happened that this kid lunged towards him and kind of like tackled him, speared him, and lifted him up. So when he fell down, he hit his head first on the concrete. The man ended up dying. They gave him a 50-year sentence for that. That's case in point. This cop that did this to Mr. Floyd put his knee on his freaking neck, stopped him from breathing, and looked directly into the camera with
9 minutes
smirk.
For 9 minutes.
With that smirk, and he's going to get probably 10 years if they don't enhance it.
But if he gets 10, But if he gets 10, it'll do 5.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
and 3 was good behavior.
And that's where the injustice is. It's a don't even get me started, man, because I get passionate about what I've become to stand for, and not that I haven't in the past, but now that I see the disparities in it, it's a whole new ballgame for me, and I'm gonna do everything that I can to help whoever I can that deserves the help, like this kid I just mentioned. Now, if you got caught doing something, killing somebody, and you're guilty of it, then I can't advocate for something like that. But if the justice system broke the law to penalize you, then that's not a justice system.
Then if all you have is me, then you have me. And I'm going to do all I can to help you. Exactly. That's what I stand for.
Well, the justice system hasn't been working for the people that have been in it for the longest time. I discovered that when I was, fighting my own case, and where I had to, because they work in the same office, the public defender and the district attorney, they work in the same office. They go to lunch together.
I was just gonna say that.
They hang out. How am I going to have a fair trial or a fair shake when these dudes are doing
They're
back
saying you give me this case and I'll give you that one.
yeah,
Exactly.
they're trying to wheel and deal, you know what I mean, to keep that conviction rate high, so you can keep that federal tit, still flowing,
Right,
and
man.
that's what it's all about, is that federal money, man. So I mean, what how is this ever going to change, man? I mean, let's say, I think the hardest thing that these protesters are gonna have trying to gain traction is, part of it, you're playing right into their hand, right? If you're being angry and you're being violent and you're and here's another thing, right? Did you see that one video where that gentleman with the rain umbrella was going through, and he had a face mask on, and he was breaking stuff, right? But he had this umbrella. What do you have an umbrella for? What do you need an umbrella for? So the drones can't see your face? You know what I mean? That was a clear agent of chaos who was coming in there to purposely start riots, right? To start the violence. That way, when that starts happening, it gives the police and the mayor and the governor a right to declare martial law and bring in, and shut it all down, right? And they do this on purpose. And actually, Alex Jones is the one who figured this out and exposed it. And they're called they're agents of chaos, but there's a different name for them. They're agent provocateurs. And they'll come into a situation and they'll cause chaos, and then they'll force the city officials or the governors to shut it all down, because it's now a violent situation, and it's deemed out of control. And it's
going on that. There was I just found out today, and I was listening to NPR radio this morning, and I was actually sickened by what I was listening to, because I couldn't believe that in 2020, I'm listening to NPR radio, and we're talking about racism, and we're listening to the destruction of cities. And then me and my wife started talking, and she was telling me about a reporter that had exposed these agents of chaos, or whatever other word that they go by. They were reporting on another incident a couple of months ago, and that reporter said it's weird because this is like a nutshell the way they reported it, but basically what they were saying is it's weird because where all this is happening, there's a bunch of vehicles here that all have out of town license plates. So she was on the right track. I just made up a word for us. She's on the right path, tracking that. And then we saw a video today, what was happening in Dallas, Texas. I don't know if you guys may have gotten a wind of it, or if it hasn't gone that viral, but they were protesting in Dallas last night. And like mysteriously, there was there was pallets of bricks stationed throughout downtown Dallas. No construction, man. No freaking construction. But there's pallets of bricks mysteriously just sitting there. That blew my mind, man. To the credit of the Dallas citizens, they mocked it. They videoed it, and they were like, don't think, we're not going to take the bait on this one. Kudos to Dallas, man. Kudos to Dallas.
And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take people recognizing that and reporting on that, like, hey, look. And they confronted the one dude with the umbrella. That was part of the video. The dude was like, hey, what's up? What's up? And the guy was like, hey, I'm gonna punch your face if you don't get out of my face. And the little brother was like, no, all right, let me put my stuff down. Let's go. You know what I mean? But that's what it's going to take, man. I mean, and in Dallas, yeah. Why is somebody we're very predictable, right? You know, when people react, usually we are very predictable. All right. When we respond is when, you know, we start, you know, using our head and don't react with emotion. You respond with intelligence. And
Exactly.
and you know, kudos to Dallas for not taking that bait. But let that be a lesson that, you know, there are people out there, there are forces out there that are trying to push this agenda. They need us to hate each other. They need us to fight amongst each other. If we're fighting amongst each other, we're not paying attention to all the bullshit that they're doing.
I agree. 100% agree with that, man.
You know, we are very much more alike than we are not alike. That's for sure.
I agree 1,000% with you, Sean. And see, this is what I'm trying to figure out. What are all these people that are saying this is a race riot or race war or whatever they want to call it? What are they looking at? Because every time I turn on the TV, I see blacks, whites, Hispanics, Asians, others, whatever race you want to think of, all standing in unity because they don't understand how a person, not a black person or a white person or anybody, a human being can just, it's hard for me to even say it, man, just be there and die, even though he's begging for life. Like, allow me to do whatever it is that you want me to do. If you want me to get up and get in the car, I'll get in. Take race up out of it. That's a human being. He's begging for his life. He's saying, I'll do anything that you want me to do. If you want me to do it, just allow me to do it. And the guy wouldn't allow him to do it, and now he's dead. That could have been you. Could have been me. That could have been Jose. It doesn't matter what color the skin he was, even though the guy that did it was a white man and the guy he did it to was a black man. That's going to be a black and white issue, of course. But you got all kind of people standing in unity about that, man, because they don't understand how a human being can have his life taken, even though he's trying to do what it is that he's asked to do. So,
well, he was on the ground way too long. First of all, you know, he should never have been on the ground for more than like 2 to 4 minutes.
Should he have ever been on the ground, even handcuffed? He shouldn't even been on the ground handcuffed. He should have been in a car by then.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if the
exactly.
First thing you got to do is you wrestle him down to the ground, whatever, right?
Exactly.
And then you cuff him, you pick him up, you make sure he doesn't have any weapons on him, you pick him up and you place him in a car, and then you do your investigation.
Right.
That's the way that it should go down. You know, and every time that I've been in trouble, that's how it's went down. You know what I mean? They cuff me, they frisk me, and then they stuff me, and then
Moscow P. Coltrane.
So there was, he had no business being on the ground that long, and even so, he shouldn't have had a knee in his neck for what? He's not going nowhere. What, you don't want him to talk? What's he gonna say? And actually, I believe his last words were he said, "Mama, mama, mama," and his mom's dead. You know what I mean? His mom passed away. So I mean, dude, that's crazy. What are solutions, man? What are solutions? Because we can talk about the problem. We've been talking about the problem since Martin Luther King. You know, anytime, and here's another screwed up thing, that anytime anybody just gets a little bit of juice, right, and wants to start a movement, and just like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, you had all those people. JFK was trying to do some stuff too. You know what I mean? They assassinate him. All right. Anytime anybody gets any kind of movement behind them, where the people they want to bring everybody together, the forces out there that want to keep everybody apart,
let's kill the head.
Yeah, find a way to assassinate, and even
kill the head, and the body will follow.
And that doesn't even doesn't only go there. It goes in some of these Tupac. There's another example of somebody who didn't want to play ball. You wanted to do their own thing. He'd started out rapping about the certain things, and he didn't want to play ball with them anymore, and he's gone. Biggie's gone. A lot of these you start looking a little further into it, and a lot of these musicians that have died early, if you really start looking back through, what was going on at that time and who they were associated with, you start to see some crazy things.
So I think that probably where change has to start taking place is we have to wisen up as a nation, and we can't just stand behind somebody's petition because it sounds good, because you have emotional interest in it. It can't be emotional, like you said earlier. So I get that from being part of a Facebook page that's for for prison reform, and everybody just wants everybody to sign a petition releasing a certain individual. Well, why? It's not just because your individual is there. Do they deserve to be there, or do they really deserve to be set free? Release all the inmates from prison. Why? Because COVID is there, or should you give it more thought and keep there who needs to stay there regardless of the COVID situation? Because it becomes you start to let everybody out just because COVID. Are you going to start letting out violent offenders? So I think it starts with a petition, and that petition has to be for a good cause, and you get good people behind it, and you take it to your state representatives. That's how it starts. And then from there, your state representative, let them take it to get voted on, let it go to the Senate, let it get to the White House. That's how people can make a difference. And it's not going to be just 4,000 or 5,000 people to stand behind a petition. It has to be millions of people that can get behind a single petition.
Now, what would that petition be? Are you talking about a petition to get somebody out of prison, or is that a petition to reform the to reform things? Because I hear what you're saying, but I'm thinking that it's got to be something where, the whites and the blacks and the Hispanic and we're all in the same situation, all right, and it's about having to put that like point that out that, look, man, if we all just got together, all right, the poor whites, the poor blacks, the poor, we're all in the same situation. It was crack cocaine back in the 80s and the 90s, and now and that was affecting lower income black neighborhoods, right? And then you had nowadays it's they're targeting the poor whites with the painkiller epidemic, right? With opioid epidemic. So they're doing the same thing with the whites too. I mean, we have to understand that this is a systematic thing against all people that aren't, that aren't in the 1%, that aren't up here, all the rich people, the wealthy people. It's more of a systematic thing against everybody who isn't who isn't in that situation. And right. I was listening to somebody today, and he made a really good point. And he said that the police are not here to protect us. The police are here to protect the wealthy and the people that have things, right? Like the politicians, the governors, a lot of the times, it really doesn't happen until it hits home in one of their backyards, right? Then all of a sudden it's, oh yeah, that's a big deal, we need to change it. But
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. It's to protect and to serve to
protect them and to serve us by any means necessary.
Yeah. And so it just has to stop there, and the only way to actually do that is to get everybody on the same page, and keep having discussions and dialogue like this, where we're putting it out and other people are listening to it, and then continuing. We see that it's having an impact. I mean, Jesus, before when something like this was happening, it would usually to me, this has a way different feel than the other ones have. Do you feel the same way? Like
I'm scared.
Like the response to this it has a way different feeling than the response to like the Oscar Grant, some of the ones in the past. This one is almost like, dude, we're in a pressure cooker and that thing is about ready to blow.
To me, it's like Rodney King times 100, because everybody got a chance to see what happened to Rodney King. It was when video cameras and all that stuff first came out, and you were actually able to see what the police would do to you if no one was looking. But now I say times 100 because it wasn't just a beat down this time. It was actual murder, so it's like times 100. So for me, it feels a lot different. It's a lot different because with Rodney King, it felt different to me than anything that I had ever experienced. But this is even bigger than that. So I'm just anxious to see what comes out of this, man. I'm hoping it's all good,
I think Rodney King was quite a bit different in the sense that we actually got to see. So Rodney King, we saw what the police did, but then we also saw what the neighborhood did to Reginald Denny. All right, which that turned into a racial thing, which it never should have. You know what I mean? It should have been a blue versus you thing, not a black versus white thing. But that's what, when I seen how, that dude get hit in the head with a brick, dude, that was that was pretty hard to watch. You know what I mean? I've been jumped by black dudes before, right? So I have experience, where, if I'm not going to lie to you, man, if I'm in a situation and I'm in a city where I don't know, and I see a group of brothers walking towards me, I'm sorry, I'm across the street. You can
vice versa. If I'm over there where it's a bunch of Hispanics or whites or Indians or whatever, and I see it and they don't look like they're friendly to me, I'm going to cross the street. That's human nature.
Yeah, I mean,
that's something that we're. Yeah. It's all about survival. It's a survival instinct.
Yeah, it's not a racist thing. Look, I got experience. I got experience with this group of people. And the last time I had an experience with this group of people in this kind of a situation,
this is what happened.
It didn't turn out well for me. So I'm trying to preserve and prevent. And it has nothing to do with being racist. You know what I mean? I could run into these cats, at a house party, 20 minutes, 30 minutes down the road, and we'd be cool.
And we can laugh about it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that was you.
Yeah, but that's just how we are, man. We are driven by our experiences. And,
we're conditioned.
Yeah, we're conditioned by our experiences and how we've dealt with the world around us. And everybody has a bad situation or a bad experience with a different culture. I almost guarantee it.
You know what if you asked earlier what I would make the petition for, and you're saying that it can't be divided racially or towards that manner. If I was to make a successful petition, and I voiced it once before, and it got a lot of response. I used the words to see the reaction of what I would get. And what I posted was, I'm going to create a force so strong, it's going to shake the justice system. That's what I said. And all I want is to have these prosecutors and district attorneys be held accountable. Stop making them untouchable. If you lie to put somebody in prison, and it's found out to be so, then you need to serve as much time as that person served because of your lies. That's what I would like to see. That's when the bullshit stops. Because now they're putting themselves at risk. When they become untouchable, they become responsible for their actions.
You mean when they become touchable? Because right now they're
I'm sorry.
Yeah, now they're untouchable.
They're already untouchable. Yes, when they become touchable is what I meant to say. Then they become responsible for their actions. Just like we're responsible for our actions, they need to be held accountable for their actions as well.
Yeah, it looks like we lost Coach James. I'm sure he'll be back in a minute. Yeah, it's there's got to be something, man, because what they want is they want for us to be doing what we're exactly how they're handling these protests in an angry, violent manner, because once they do that, then that means that they can invoke martial law. They can do, they basically whatever you had to say gets lost in all of the chaos that's ensuing after all this. You know what I mean? The message just gets lost. And I think that we need to come through with a better way of doing this. There's got to be a way that we can make everybody pay attention without without going into the public, because when you're in the public and you're doing a protest like that, it's way too easy for things to get out of control or have people come in and like these agent provocateurs coming in and causing all this drama and chaos, man. There's got to be another way, like a general strike or something, where you just sit down,
Well, I was reading a post. It was a picture of. It said, "This is a protest," and it had Martin Luther King with a bunch of black people behind him marching, protesting the way he would protest peacefully. And then the bottom part of that picture was, "This is a crime," and it showed the citizens of Minnesota looting Target. And people started reacting to that post, and I'm like, man, what gives? Like, what did Target have to do with it, really? Like, I get they're corporate America, and it's a bunch of white men at the top of the bracket up there for them. But what did Target really do to you? I mean, Target is employing your people in your community. Now that Target's going to be shut down, and they were talking about, well, big box corporations are the ones that are destroying the communities, not the citizens. That doesn't make any sense to me for anybody to say that. Because if it was a mom and pop store, wouldn't you want success on your mom and pop store? Isn't that why you would want to support them, so that they can become a big retailer at some point, that you wish them success? Success means you go from mom and pop to the next level. So I don't understand that. It's beyond comprehension for me that people would think like that.
Yeah, well, part of the problem is that once once that gets put into effect with the looting, the breaking the windows and stuff like that, then it becomes a thing of opportunity, right? So if everybody was peacefully protesting, all right, which it starts out as, then hold on one second. It starts out as, then it ends up turning into opportunity, right? All right, well, might as well now. I mean, shit, everybody else is doing it. I might as well go and get mine too, right? Then it turns into groupthink like that. All right. So how do we keep it from even going there? So we had to start figuring out ways to protest without showing up on the streets like that. What are some other ways where they can't be manipulated, and turned into, a situation where, they can just declare martial law. That's always going to happen every time you do it, every time it's been done. This is the outcome, right?
Mm-hmm. I was listening to NPR this morning, and they had, I don't know who it was speaking, but they were in Minnesota. And they had a bunch of city leaders and community leaders there speaking on an open forum for their citizens that came out to watch them. And I thought they did it very uniquely, and I thought they did it with class, their leaders. And it started off, I think, with their mayor, and then some of their council people. And then they used a leader of their Black community. They used a leader of their Latino community. They used a leader of their white community. They used the leader of their Native American community. They had all these different people from all different nationalities, and they all gave a plea to their people of the city. Stay home tonight. When 8 o'clock comes around, stay home. Let the ones that are going to destroy the city. If that's what they're going to do, but we urge you to stay home. And I think that when you get your community leaders from all walks of life, all races, and people start to, they resonate, because somebody's going to identify, I would identify with the Latinos. I probably would identify with the blacks. Guess what? I identified with all of them. I identified with all of them because in my heart, I stand for peace. Anyway, you don't have to tell me, you don't have to have 10 people to tell me to stay home. If you say stay home once, because there's going to be, I don't know, the National Guard or whoever out there, I'm going to stay home. That's just the way I think. Not everybody does. But if you want to protest the right way, or if you want to start putting an end to it, maybe do it that way. Get people that people of the community will resonate with. That was a very good idea that they did.
Yeah, like so almost like you're like you know how the yards are set up, right? Where you got your shot callers, right? And they do all the negotiating for everybody. And so yeah, man, that's not a bad idea, man. Maybe you start electing some community leaders from all different cultures, and instead of sending, you know, everybody out, you just send them out. And if, you know, whoever else starts, you know, getting crazy, that, you know, that they don't have anything to do with the agenda.
Exactly, and that's exactly what they said. If they're out there doing that, they stand for something totally different, not for what your rage is about. They stand for something totally different, and you just hit the nail right on the head with that.
Hold on one second.
Sure.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. And you know,
It sounds funny that we would that a solution, a potential solution, could be rules like that are set in place in the penal system.
yeah,
But
in the joint, right? You know, but there's a reason for it. You know what I mean? There has to be a reason for it, because just like on the streets, it doesn't take a whole lot for a situation. You know, when somebody puts hands on somebody who, you know, a different race, you know, you got no business putting hands on them, right? You know, not you can't do it without permission, basically.
right.
Which keeps it not like a county jail, not like a city jail where it's, you know, the wild west, and you got a bunch of people that have never been to prison but want to act like they think they know what prison's like, and then not, this is how, you know, this is how we run in this yard.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't. There's a lot of people that don't know. It's because it's glorified by Hollywood,
Mm-hmm.
and they think that because they have a persona that they want to carry with them, because they've never been there and they want to perpetrate.
Yeah.
They think that that's really how it is, and it's really not.
Yeah, they seen American Me and what was that other one with Miklo? Blood in, blood
Bound by
out.
honor.
Yeah, blood in, blood out.
Miklo, yeah.
Yeah. They see those two movies, and you know, automatically they know what it's like in the joint.
Yeah, it's a prerequisite, man.
Yeah, no, the joint ain't nothing like that. I mean, maybe some of the maximum security ones are, but I mean, even those ones, I don't think it's you know, people. A lot of stuff doesn't happen, man. I mean, I never saw anybody get raped when I was there. I never experienced that. I know that there's a lot of guys in there that wanted to get raped, you know, or you know, the trannies that are running around, you know, they're causing a lot of problems in there. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's we're getting to a point where we have to start figuring out what the solution is going to be. And, you know, the whites and the blacks and the Mexicans and the Native Americans, everybody, every culture needs to stand together and realize that once we come together and start trying to figure out these problems together, instead of, you know, pointing the finger at it's them, it's, you know, or it's them, that nothing's ever going to change. You're going to continue to fall right into the trap that they lay for you with the bricks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, they think that we're dumb monkeys and that we're only going to react a certain way, right? You got to start being smarter than the people that are trying to trying to play you. And they're good. They're good, man. They've been doing it for years. These playbooks are the same playbooks they've been using for millennia, right?
Well, they don't change them. Why?
Because they work.
That's right.
They work.
Let me tell you about what's happening here in San Antonio. There's a lot of protests going on, which blew me out of the water because I've been priding my city in the fact that, for the most part, San Antonio doesn't engage in protests like this since I've ever known of protests happening, especially in the day and age of social media. And lo and behold, the day that I voice my opinion is the day that everybody's going out in full force. San Antonio is a large city, dude. It's like the 6th or 7th largest city in the nation. And the news helicopter was up flying above downtown San Antonio. Thousands upon thousands of people downtown. Nobody was rioting. Everybody was just, it was like, they looked like cattle just walking through downtown, man. All going to the same place, which is Travis Park, downtown San Antonio. And then they started ranting, hey, Black Lives Matter, or whatever else they were chanting. It didn't matter. But the point is, they did it with such class, dude. I was so impressed with my fellow citizens here in San Antonio. They did it with such class. And then they all took a knee at the same time. And it was unity. Blacks, Hispanics, whites, and the two Asians that we have here in San Antonio. Everybody in unison took a knee together, said a small prayer, and then got up and cheered like the Spurs just won a championship. That's what it was like. That's exactly what it was like. Couldn't have been prouder, man. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take that for all races, all people to get together and think the same. Peace.
We're all the same.
Exactly.
It's. I mean, even the people that are, there's the 1%, and then there's the 0.5% that's above that 1% that are actually making things happen. They're the ones that control the ebb and flow of the markets. They can twist it however they want. With one move, they can. So it's almost like they control so many things. So it's like a ship so if a ship that's trying to go to a destination over here, right, a long ways away, if you move further than just a little bit, you're going to miss your mark by a whole bunch, right? Well, these guys, they know how to manipulate the markets and do all these other things because they have all the money, right? And so they can determine all of this stuff. And they're really good at it, man. They're good at knowing how to tweak everything. They own the media companies, the politicians. I mean, they're all working kind of in unison together. Maybe not all of them, but there's a good majority of it, and there's proof of it. I mean, you can see it. You can see it very plain as day.
The biggest thing that helps them gather that information is social media itself. Every banner that you click on, every video that you watch, every app that you download and agree to, all your information is sold to these bigger companies that start to steer you in their direction. Oh. Why do you always see the same videos that are they all have the same thing in common? It's because it's them controlling it. It's crazy.
Yeah, it sure is, man. I just think it's we just got to keep having these conversations, keep having people talking about the same thing, have more people out here talking about, hey, how much more similar we are than we are different. We'll never be. Well, I'm not going to say we'll never be, but more of us are on the same page than we're not. And I think that's just what people need to start getting across their heads is that, look, if you want change in this country, if you want things to go back to the way that I don't even know if they were like, I could say I was born in '73, and it had already changed before then. I think this started, losing this stuff at the turn of the century. When the Industrial Revolution started, that's when we started losing control over our country, and the corporations and the politicians and everybody else that are in bed with each other financially. I mean, that's really what it's all about. It's about money. And we don't mean anything, literally, we don't mean anything except for, I think, what is that? Our Social Security number guarantees that they can borrow $1 million against our Social Security once we're born. Like when we go to, like, as far as earning potential goes, when you're going to like these like if we're going to go borrow money from China, right? Well, they say, okay, well, what do you have as collateral to back it up? Well, every Social Security number is worth at least $1 million in potential labor.
So that just blows my mind, man.
In the GDP, right? Oh no, there's a whole thing on it, man. It's called sovereign citizenship, and I've got a bunch of stuff on it that somebody sent me, and I never read. I read some of it, but I didn't read all. It's just a lot. That's a commitment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I don't know if I want to get involved in this, man, because that's a commitment. If I start it, I'm gonna have to finish it, and it's a lot of shit to read.
Yeah. Well, that just blew my mind that you planted that seed in my brain now, and I'm gonna talk to my wife about it later on, and that's gonna destroy her for the rest of the night.
Oh, why is that?
Yeah, because she's one of those, man. She fact checks everything before she puts any post on Facebook. She's already researched it for 2 or 3 days.
Well, that's good. That's good,
before she
man.
puts a single statement.
Because I'm the jackass that will blow something out there and realize, oh shit, that had Trump in it. Now I can't take it back. It makes it look, things that make me look like I'm a Trump supporter, and I'm like, nah. I mean, I think he's funny. I don't necessarily think he's a great leader. I didn't vote for him, and I wouldn't vote for him again. I don't believe in any of them. I think they're all crooked. I'm
exactly the same way. Here's what I think. And I'm not sure if we talked about this before, but I vote for the person I think is going to get the job done. I don't care if you're a Republican or Democrat. It doesn't matter. If I think you're going to get the job done, because in the bottom line, nobody knows if you're going to do what you say. You're going to do what's going to prosper your agenda, and your real agenda might not be what you're talking about. So,
well, a lot of these people, they go there with great intentions, man. Like like their hearts are pure, and they mean well, and you believe them when they go because you elected them to go and make change, and something happens. Something happens when they get there, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's they get compromised in a way where they have no choice but to play ball. That's what Epstein's whole thing was all about. That island, you get a part of that, and they get you on that island, and they start getting you in a compromising position. They get you a little liquored up, and then all of a sudden you're playing around with an underage girl. And they've got it on film, or pictures are taken, or maybe you're playing with a little boy, whatever it is, they got you in a compromising position, and now you have no choice but to do what they tell you, and that's a real thing, and that's part of what Pedo Island was about, and that airplane, what is it, the Lolita Express?
Yeah,
is that what it was called?
I think so. Yeah.
Dude, that thing was probably cameraed up, and a lot of stuff going on to get people in compromising positions. And that's how they get people to play ball with them.
I don't know if I was to run for any kind of elected office, I probably couldn't anyway because of my record. But if a record wasn't an issue and I had one, that's the first thing I'd make public. Hey, print me everything you have on me. Let's throw it out there right now so people know exactly who they're dealing with.
I don't even know if that would be like, what is that? I wonder. I'd be curious to know if being a felon keeps you from. Oh, let's ask Google real quick. I got my shit on right here. But as soon as I do this, then we'll probably get done. We're at about an hour right now.
Okay.
This was just, just to throw out there.
You never know what great leader's gonna listen to this later on. What next great leader?
Right? Can you run for a government office? Oh, with a felony. If we can, I'm running.
You can? If you can.
All right, prison is not a bar to running for federal office. All right, so this is felons in elected office, factcheck.org. Let's see what it says. So, can a convicted felon serve in elected office? The Constitution allows a convicted felon to be a member of Congress, even if in prison. It's up to the Senate or House to decide who may serve. As for state officers, different laws apply in different places. So you could do it, but you'd have to. So now you got to get through the Senate and the House, which is
you got to be part of that freaking society, man.
The family. You got to have that family name, you know. And it's all these families. It's all these connected families that run everything.
Yeah. Those secret societies, man. There's
a bunch of them, man. I was watching one on something about about these Christian. So, dude, I mean, I'm not necessarily a religious person. I believe in the universe, and there's something out there, but I just don't put that name on it. But there was this group that was really. Oh man, I was watching. It was I can't remember what the name of it was, man. I'll think of it and shoot you the information, man. But it was pretty interesting, and all of these dudes were all heavily involved in religion, right, in Christianity, and like I thought that church and state weren't supposed to mix. You know what I mean? Like church wasn't supposed to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the government, and it's like it's really thick within the government.
All these freaking banks, universities, they all have names rooting into secret societies. Like,
oh yeah, and the symbolism and all and their symbols of their different logos and stuff like that. A lot of them have something to do with secret societies, whether it's Masons or Masons is a really big one. I was just watching something earlier on Masons, and it was they found something that had to do. I'm recording, so yeah. Well, anyways, it was good talking to you, man. I gotta get out of here. I'll try to get this dealt with here soon. And I'm not even gonna edit it. I'm just gonna shoot it out on YouTube.
It might be the best way.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want to do this like on a regular basis, man, just to collaborate ideas and shoot stuff out there, it's a good idea, man. And as many people as you can get involved in it would be even better.
Well, yeah, no, for sure, because I have I have the paid Zoom thing, so I can get up to like 100 people on this thing.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. But whenever you need me or whenever you would like to have me on, just get in touch with me, just like you did, man.
All right.
I'm watching you, bro. Just because I'm not engaged much, I'm just a lot caught up with my work. But I'm watching you. I pay attention.
Oh yeah, I figured as much, man. I see that you got your you just started your talk from the cell block deal. You got 4 episodes out now. You got your trailer and then 3 of them that you've just put out. So yeah, I'm watching you too, man.
Yeah, I got a good one getting ready to come out, and I got one that you're probably gonna like a lot. That it's a girl that got a 400-month sentence from Judge McBride.
Yeah, that's the last one, or the most recent one, right?
The most recent one I actually published was it's a state case, but the next one I want to publish is going to be a federal.
So how are you?
Sentence. She's 47 years old.
How are you getting those done? You just hooking up with them through
online dating.
Okay. Through online dating, and then you're just kind of like, well, because you're married, so you're not really in there for dating. You're just trying to. That's an easy way for you to be able to get to talk to them.
The vulnerable ones. Yeah. No, I'm just playing, man. I actually reach out to them by letter, by correspondence, and I tell them exactly what my intentions are, and they respond back to me. It means it's a total green light. Then I'll start to investigate, then research their cases, like real heavy, because like I said, I don't want to advocate anybody that needs to be there.
Yeah.
But if it was unjust, then I'll help you as much as I can. Just even if it's just putting your word out, which is really what I want to do.
So it's kind of like what Kim Kardashian is doing, except you don't have millions of dollars behind you. You're doing it like more at a grassroots level.
Exactly. I don't even know what she's doing, but I mean, if you do and you think it's the same thing, then yeah.
She's doing something that has to do with people that were wrongfully convicted and are doing time that don't belong there, or didn't, they got railroaded. The same thing that you're talking about. And so she's got a couple of them overturned through the president and some other things. So I mean, she's actually doing something good.
That's awesome. Now I'm gonna have to get in touch. I'm gonna hashtag her on everything. You're gonna see that. I'm gonna hashtag her and Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah, Kim K. I'm not really a fan just because I have a daughter and I don't agree with her as a role model. But I mean, I do.
I don't even know anything. I don't know anything about the girl. That's why I said I don't know what she's doing. But hey.
Yeah, but she's making a difference there. So I mean, you gotta take your hat off to her there, irregardless of the stuff that she's done in her past. So maybe this is her saving grace.
Maybe. Okay, brother.
All right.
You have a good one, man. It was good talking with you.
All right, you too, brother.
Okay, we'll see you.
All right, bye.
Bye.